The story begins with the courier calling the client and saying that the food delivery person was bothering him and wanted to ask a couple of questions. The client asked the courier when he would deliver the noodles to him because he was very hungry and was already tired of waiting for his order. The courier listened to the client and asked him what address he needed to deliver the order to so as not to waste a lot of time. The client said that he was waiting for the courier in the bar below the old shipyard in the harbor and his name was Liang Chenhao and he was glad to talk to him. The courier said that he understood and wrote down the delivery location and quickly headed to his moped to hit the road. The courier told Liang Chenhao that his 2 servings of battle noodles would be with him soon and said that there would be no problem with this order. The courier got ready to go and hung up the phone and his name was Su Jishou and he was a second-year student at Yangshan High School and did not shine with intelligence. Su Jishou started a moped and thought that his dream was to live a normal life and he worked and studied for this. Su Jishou could bet that no one suspected what was about to happen because he was confident that he would quickly deliver the order. Su Jishou smiled and was in a good mood because he knew that he still had a lot of time and he didn't have to worry. Su Jishou was driving along the road and suddenly a car started rushing towards him at maximum speed and it appeared out of nowhere. Su Jishou was surprised and frozen in shock because he realized that he could not avoid the collision and thought that he was doomed. But then suddenly some girl started shooting a blue beam from her hand and directed it towards the car because she was watching them. And then suddenly Su Jishou flew in the other direction and realized that the consequence of the desire to arrive a couple of seconds earlier could be death. Su Jishou landed on the ground and wondered why he didn't collide with the car and what really happened. And then suddenly the car flew away in the other direction from Su Jishou and none of the passers-by also understood what happened there. Su Jishou looked in surprise at the developed machine and thought that it looked like it was a miracle and he somehow avoided disaster. And then suddenly a girl from the crowd raised her hand and called Su Jishou a benefactor and he didn't understand the same thing it could be. The girl approached Su Jishou and asked the benefactor if he was okay and if he needed medical help now. The girl assessed Su Jishou's condition and smiled and said that it was excellent and everything seemed to be very good with him. Su Jishou was shocked and told her that he was fine and it seems she misspoke and he told her that she was his benefactor. The girl looked at Su Jishou and said that her benefactor was a very naive and kind person with a kind heart. She asked Su Jishou if he had forgotten about her and said that he was the one who freed her from the cage 8 years ago and saved her. Su Jishou listened to her but he didn't understand what she meant because he remembered that he didn't save anyone and it looks like she was wrong. And then suddenly all the people passing by started filming them and asking if they were filming a movie there and it was cool. People didn't understand what was happening there and asked everyone to film it all and thought that soon they would say their lines. People said that this girl just sent a car flying and thought that it was new filmmaking technology. And then suddenly people said that this was Dao Shi's car and they heard that the car cost 6 million. The victim began to get out of the car and Su Jishou looked at him and could not forget about the 6 million in question. And then suddenly the girl began to cry and asked the benefactor if he had really forgotten Daji and how he could do it. But then suddenly Su Jishou took her by the shoulder and asked her to stop being upset and said that he now remembered Daji. Su Jishou smiled and said that he saved her that day and today she saved his life and now they were even with each other. Su Jishou thought that he had no idea who Daji was and he just told her that because he wanted to calm her down now. And then suddenly a guy got out of the car and asked everyone who could have turned his car over and Daji said that it was her. Su Jishou didn't want any trouble and so suddenly he quickly ran to his moped and quickly drove away from there in a second. Su Jishou drove many kilometers and stopped and thought that it was good that he quickly left from there and he was calm. Su Jishou realized that his screen was broken and he had lost his temper and the boss called him 1,000 times and he did not know what awaited him next. Su Jishou didn't care because he knew that financial losses could prevent a disaster and suddenly Daji appeared behind him. Su Jishou was very scared and told her that she scared him very much and he asked if they weren't even and why she was chasing. But Daji said an expression that said that if he owed something, he had to pay it back at best. Daji told Su Jishou that he not only freed her but also gave her money, but Su Jishou asked her to be silent for a minute. Su Jishou thanked God and wondered if his kindness in helping the grandmothers cross the road had finally paid off today. Su Jishou looked at Daji and asked how much money she wanted back and he was interested to know about it. Daji smiled and said that she was going to marry him as a repayment of a debt and was happy about it. Su Zisho froze in surprise and was shocked by this and asked Daji if she had told the truth, and she agreed. But then suddenly Su Jisho asked her to look back and said that something was going on there, and Daji believed him and turned around. Daji said that there was nothing there and noticed that Su Zisho began to run away from there and began to run with all his might towards his moped. But then suddenly Su Zisho froze in surprise and did not understand what was happening there, because this had never happened to him before. Su Zisho thought why his legs didn't move, and he couldn't understand what kind of magic it was, and he couldn't get out of there. And then suddenly Daji began to slowly approach him and said that Su Zisho always left her and she didn't like it at all. Daji asked Su Zisho if he didn't want to marry her and why he ran away every time he saw her anywhere. Su Jisho said that he was not ugly as well as desperate and asked Daji what kind of debt repayment was it. Daji asked if it was true and took out a saw and asked Su Zisho did not want Daji to be with him. Daji said that if Su Zisho wants to escape, she will run this object along his leg, and without legs he will not be able to escape. Su Zisho brought this object to his leg and said that she would start now, but Su Zisho got scared and asked her to calm down. Daji asked the benefactor not to worry and said that he would not die, but Su Zisho asked her to wait because he knew something. And then suddenly Su Jisho told Miss Daji that he also did not want to run away from her, but unfortunately he was a man and she was a spirit. Su Zisho pretended to be upset and told Daji that he liked her too, but they couldn't be together because of one fact. Su Zisho fell silent and began to rub his eyes and said that he did not want to tell her about this, but one problem was preventing them. And then suddenly Su Zisho began to cry and said that the views of others and rumors bothered them and they could not be together. Daji almost forgot and told Su Zisho that he was a blood spirit hunter, but she knew that he didn't know anything about it yet. Su Zisho told Daji that it was terrible that they couldn't get married and he couldn't think of other things besides that. Daji asked if he liked her too, then why couldn't they get married, because there was nothing stopping them from doing it even now. Daji asked if he really disliked the idea of a romance between a spirit and a person, and Su Zisho agreed with her question. But suddenly Su Zisho noticed a saw behind Daji's back and was shocked and thought that he had completely forgotten about her threats and it was dangerous. Immediately Su Zisho told Daji that he was joking and no one could stop them from becoming one and being happy. Daji was happy and said that she thought that she would have to force him to change his mind, but fortunately everything was decided. But then suddenly Daji grabbed Su Zisho's hand and said that then they would not waste time and would act immediately. Su Jisho was shocked by her words and Daji said that they would get married right now because he also agreed with his Daji. Su Zisho froze in surprise because he couldn't even imagine that Daji would start acting so quickly and he didn't know what to do. Su Zisho asked her to wait a minute and said that he wanted to discuss some important issues with her before their wedding. Daji asked what questions he had and Su Zisho realized that Daji's expression was becoming creepy and frightening. Su Jisho said that the law stated that men had to be 22 years old to get married. Daji thought about what law he meant and Su Zisho said that she understood him correctly and he was 16 years old. Daji was surprised and said that she never had such rules because he could become a father at the age of 16 and she knew about it. Daji's face changed and she told Su Zisho that this was their marriage and who were they to listen to other people and be afraid of it. Su Zisho wondered what she was doing and he had to figure out how to calm her down because her appearance had become fierce and scary. Su Zisho realized that Daji was showing her intention to finish him off and he said that they could not get married because. And then suddenly Su Zisho said that because he wanted to show it to the whole world because it was an unforgettable marriage for his beloved. Su Zisho sat down on his knee and told Daji that they couldn't get married in this empty place and he realized that it started to work. And then suddenly Daji said that if they got married there, she would feel obligated to him for the rest of her days. Suddenly Daji became embarrassed and said this, that's why she felt so embarrassed now and Su Zisho wondered if it really worked. Daji said that Su Zisho loved Daji very much and he said in a whisper that if nothing happened to him, he could get out of there. And then suddenly Daji turned around sharply and said that then the sick become the bride's benefactors because that was great. Su Zisho immediately stopped and realized that he had screwed up and could not escape from there before she did something to him again. Daji smiled and asked Su Zisho what was that expression on his face and was he really not happy about their wedding? Su Zisho said that he was very happy and he thought that he should not have contacted the spirits and he did not like it. Su Jisho told Daji that now if they had nothing else to discuss, he would go home and take a rest from all the events. Daji simply agreed with him and Su Zisho wondered if she really let him go home so easily because it was very strange. And then suddenly Daji came close to Su Zisho and said that they would now go home because it was already getting dark. Daji grabbed Su Zisho's hand and dragged him with her, and he thought that he said that only he would go and not them together. Su Zisho returned home and immediately fell asleep after all the events of that day, and the morning came and he immediately slammed the alarm clock. Su Zisho woke up and wondered if he was so tired yesterday that when he came home he just lay down on the bed and immediately passed out in a second. Su Zisho began to look under Daji's bed and thought that such dreams in his teens were very strange. Su Zisho opened the window and breathed in fresh air and was glad that it was just a dream and he was worrying in vain. But then suddenly Su Zisho heard a rooster crowing behind him and thought what could it be because it was strange. Suddenly, Daji stood behind him with a rooster in her hands and told her cute fiancé Su Zisho that it was time for breakfast. And then Su Zisho realized that it was not a dream and Daji stood before his eyes and she existed in this world and was real. Su Zisho was very surprised and asked Daji what she was doing and she said that she was preparing breakfast for her dear husband. Daji told the rooster that if he dares to touch her husband with his dirty feet and somehow harm him in this room. And then suddenly Daji looked intently at the rooster and said that then she would finish him off and would not let her husband hurt anyone. Su Zisho was shocked watching Daji's behavior and thought that it was creepy and she sometimes seemed very scary. After breakfast, Su Jisho looked at his watch and realized that he should have had breakfast faster so as not to be late for class. Su Zisho grabbed his backpack and said that the time had come and he had to go to school because he could be scolded for being late. Daji was surprised about which school Su Jisho was referring to and she was also interested to know how ordinary students studied there. Su Jisho told her that she understood everything correctly and he needed to go to school to gain knowledge and become a master. Daji told Su Zisho that she heard that the teacher at school would spank children with her palms and punish them. Su Zisho smiled and said that it was not true and told her that in their days they did not beat students, but rather treated them well. Daji was surprised and asked if it was true, but Su Zisho slammed the door and said that he would leave her and let her take care of the house. Su Zisho couldn't believe that he had the blood of spirit hunters and was cornered by spirits in such a situation. He remembered that the old people hunted spirits using methods and most likely he wouldn't need them even if he learned them someday. Su Zisho closed his eyes and thought about why he began to think about this because he was not interested in such things before. Su Zisho got on his moped and thought that now his golden pig was more important to him and he needed to earn. Su Zisho thought that he should take his golden pig with him and run away when he returned home tonight. A couple of minutes later, Su Zisho arrived at Yenshan High School to think about studying and education in addition to earning money. Su Jisho parked the moped and then someone came up behind him and told student Su that he came very early today. It was a 47-year-old school security guard, Zhang, and he said good morning to Su Zisho and wanted to know how he was doing. Guard Zhang looked at Su Zisho and asked why he looked so depressed and what happened to him. Su Jisho told the guard that a lot happened yesterday and he was just a little tired of it and didn't have time to rest yet. And then suddenly Su Zisho became upset and asked guard Zhang to forget about it and said that he was going to his class. But then suddenly Su Zisho heard a familiar voice calling him cute and saying that she missed him. And then Daji ran to Su Zisho and hugged him and he wondered if she was chasing him all the way from home to school. Daji smiled in his face and said that she was very glad to see her dear husband again and see his school with her own eyes. Su Jisho was surprised and asked Daji why she came there and she said that she came there to study with her husband. Su Zisho was angry and asked Daji if he didn't tell her that she should have stayed at home and then they were distracted by guard Zhang. Guard Zhang said that he would forget about it and pretend that he didn't see all this and Su Zisho was very embarrassed by this. Guard Zhang told Su Zisho that now he should treat him with sour and spicy noodles and Su quickly ran away from there. Su Jisho stopped and said that now there was no one there and asked Daji why she came there and what she needed. Su Zisho told Daji didn't he ask her not to go out and look after the house and why did she come there and set him up. Daji told Su Zisho that she was just worried about him and that's why she wanted to study with him so that she could always be by his side. Daji pretended to be very upset and asked Su Zisho if he didn't like it and upset him. Su Zisho told Daji that it was obvious because they would have thought that she was his girlfriend and he didn't want that at all. And then suddenly Su Zisho noticed that Daji had brought a sword with her to school and was shocked and said that it was impossible. Su Zisho said that the fact was that the school demanded payment for her education and he could not afford it because he was not rich. Daji asked if he meant payment in the form of money and she did not know what the currency was in this country today. Su Zisho took out his money and showed it to her so that she would know what the money looked like and said that it was not nearly enough to pay. Daji said was it really money and Su Zisho was surprised and asked if she really had money because he didn't think about it. Daji asked if the money looked like this and suddenly showed Su Zisho his golden pig with all the money inside. Su Zisho was furious at this and shouted with all his might and said that it was his treasure and why did she take it without asking. Daji was surprised by his reaction and asked her boyfriend what happened to him and why his mood dropped so sharply. Jisho thought that he had spent so much time making it sparkle and all the money had now fallen into the hands of the fox spirit. Su Zisho told Daji that he would let her study at his school but she had to promise him something and keep her promise. Su Zisho told her that she should not have called herself Daji in front of others and she should not have revealed her identity. Su Zisho said that she could not use magic at school yet and he thought that if she did not live with him it would be dangerous. Su Zisho told her that if she promised him these 3 things, he would allow her to study and she immediately nodded and agreed with him. Su Zisho told Daji that then he would take her to do procedures and decide all the nuances of her studies at this school. At this time, a student was watching them from the school and she said that she had smelled a strong perfume earlier and it seemed she was not mistaken. The student told her animal Chi-Chi that it was a strong spirit and she was sure of it but they had to find out details about her. Animal Chi-Chi asked the student maybe they should have warned him in advance so that he could take some measures in advance and be prepared. The student agreed with Chi-Chi and said that they should tell grandfather about this as quickly as possible so that he himself would give them instructions. Su Zisho cried and thought how Daji could have found his piglet and if he had known about it earlier, he would have taken it with him and run away. And then his classmate came up to Su Zisho and greeted him and said that he had good news for him in the morning. The student said that he had just seen the teacher leading the beauty and he was wondering if she would be their new student. But then suddenly someone called the student a fat idiot and said that he was blocking her path and told him to get out of her way quickly. This was his classmate and the student asked her for forgiveness and said that he did not deliberately block her path and he was communicating with Su. The student was outraged by his behavior and sat down in the next desk next to Su Zisho, but he did not want to listen to anyone and was very upset. Su Zisho told his friend that the teacher would come now and advised him to better return to his seat so that he would not scold him. Excellent students asked to be allowed to check their classmates' homework and make sure everything was done correctly. And then teacher Zhao Taizhu came into the class and greeted the students and all the students began to maintain discipline in the class. Teacher Zhao said that today a new student appeared in class and asked all students to give him a warm welcome and not to bully. Su Jisho's friend said that it was her and he had been telling him about her all this time and he was very glad that she transferred to their class. Su Jisho's friend said that she was a hot student and all the students noticed that she looked very good and was very beautiful. All the students immediately fell in love with her and even began to fight among themselves and say that she would be their girlfriend. The students looked at her and said that she was very cute and were glad that their class finally got such a beauty. Teacher Zhao said that from now on, Miss Su will be part of their class and asked her to go forward and greet her classmates. Su Zisho looked at the new student Daji and shook his head and he didn't want her to study with him because she stole his charm. The student greeted all the students and said that her name was Su Xiaomei and she was Su Zisho's fiancée and loved him very much. All the students were shocked by this news and couldn't believe their ears because they didn't think that such a beauty could date him. Even teacher Zhao was shocked and told Miss Su Xiaomei that now was no time for jokes and asked her not to joke about it anymore. But Su Xiaomei was indignant at teacher Zhao's words and said that she was not joking and was only telling the truth and did not intend to deceive. Teacher Zhao asked Miss Su Xiaomei to remember to come to the office after the session and said that he had a private conversation with her. The teacher asked her to first go and find a place in the class and after that they would start the lesson and she would join the new team. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei took a chair and placed it next to Su Zisho, sat there and told the teacher that she was comfortable there. Teacher Zhao was angry with Miss Su Xiaomei's action and asked if she did it on purpose and was now getting on his nerves. Teacher Zhao ordered Miss Su Xiaomei to go with him to the office and said that she ruined his lesson and now it was her self-study. Teacher Zhao told Su Xiaomei to hurry up and she didn't understand why the teacher was so angry with her and scolded her non-stop. Su Xiaomei asked Su Zisho what she did wrong and he said that she should have gone after Teacher Zhao first. Su Zisho began to push Su Xiaomei and said that she should remember and listen to everything that the teacher tells her and obey him. Su Zisho said that if she wanted to study with him, she had to behave well and not do anything stupid and study well. Su Xiaomei left the class with Teacher Zhao and Su Zisho finally exhaled and thought that he had waited for her to leave. And then suddenly Su Zisho wondered why suddenly a chill ran down his spine and he felt a bad aura in the class. And then his friend ran to Su Zisho and said that his bride looked fantastic and Su said that she was not his bride. And then all the students came up to Su Zisho and started asking him about how such a fool like him got such a bride. The students were furious and said that maybe they would teach Su Zisho a lesson on how to keep girls and teach him some manners. But then suddenly the student told them that they would never do this and said that they all misunderstood Su Zisho. She asked the students if Su Zisho could be a bastard and he told the headman if she was the only one who understood him. Yao Qiqi was in charge of the training committee and said that the scumbag was a selfish person with no feelings and Su Zisho was not a scumbag. The students listened to Yao Qiqi and said that Su Zisho should have been called a scumbag and he wanted to answer them but decided not to say. Su Zisho's friend told him that the teacher seemed like a crazy person and asked if he was sure that his sister would not be scolded. Su Zisho asked his friend to relax and said that he asked him to behave decently there and he was not worried about her. The friend said that it was good but Su Zisho said that she would be good until the teacher provoked Su Xiaomei. The friend smiled and asked Su Zisho what would happen next and he suddenly thought that this could lead to bad consequences. And then suddenly Su Zisho got up and ran out of the classroom and asked Su Xiaomei to show mercy because the teacher must live. At this time in the office, Teacher Zhao was telling Su Xiaomei that students should put learning as a priority and then love. Su Zisho looked at the office and thought that nothing bad had happened and Teacher Zhao seemed to be alive and well for now. Teacher Zhao told Su Xiaomei that since she was a new student, he would not interfere in this and asked her to study according to the rules. Suddenly Teacher Zhao asked Su Xiaomei to stay away from Mr. Su Zisho and Xiaomei was surprised and asked why. Teacher Zhao told Su Xiaomei that she shouldn't have done this because the school didn't allow students to date. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei told the teacher that they were not dating but were engaged and he spat water and couldn't believe his ears. And then suddenly the teacher was shocked and told Su Xiaomei that she had to call off the engagement so that it would not interfere with her studies. And then Su Zisho burst into the room and realized that things were bad and it looked like the situation had changed for the worse and it was dangerous. Su Zisho watched them and was shocked because he realized that Teacher Zhao had angered her and now she would become dodgy. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei asked Teacher Zhao if he thought he was too strict and should have cooled down. Teacher Zhao was very surprised by the student's words and told Su Xiaomei that he was her teacher and obviously he had to be strict. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei looked menacingly straight into Teacher Zhao's eyes and asked if he really thought that he was right as a teacher. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei raised her hand and told Teacher Zhao that then she was very sorry for him because he had now made a huge mistake. But then suddenly Su Xiaomei stopped and thought, was it really the cry of dear Su Zisho and did something happen to him? Su Xiaomei immediately ran to help Su Zisho, and Teacher Zhao stood in shock at her actions and asked Miss Su what she was doing. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei jumped from the window of the school office and Teacher Zhao could not have expected sudden actions from her. Teacher Zhao was horrified by this and thought it was the fourth floor and it wasn't his problem because she jumped off herself. The woman asked Mr. Zhao what happened and he told her that nothing happened and thought that no one seemed to have seen it. Su Xiaomei at that time walked down the walls of the school and followed Su Zisho's voice because she was very worried about him and wanted to save him. Su Xiaomei finally found Su Zisho and was glad because she thought that she would not be able to see him and was very afraid for it. Su Xiaomei asked Su Zisho what happened and said that she heard his voice and thought that he was in danger now. Su Zisho thought that he was on time and asked Daji if she had forgotten what he had told her before and what he had asked her to do. Su Jisho asked Daji what she was going to do with the teacher, and she said that she didn't want to do anything with him and was just communicating. Su Zisho asked her not to forget what she promised him this morning because they had a friendly agreement between them. Su Xiaomei was upset and told Su Zisho that she just heard that teacher Zhao wanted them to break up immediately. Su Xiaomei asked him for forgiveness, but Su Zisho was very angry and asked her what she was going to do with teacher Zhao. Su Xiaomei was very offended by this act and she asked Su Zisho for forgiveness and said that she would not do it again. Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that these were crocodile tears and he did not believe her because she played the role of the victim perfectly and was a master. Su Zisho thought that this could be a good opportunity for him and he had to tell her what he was going to say. Suddenly, Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that she had already broken her promise, so she could no longer come to school and go. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei looked menacingly at Su Zisho and said that she would not leave there and would remain there until the end. Su Xiaomei said that she wanted to always be close to her husband and he should not have been against this because she is his wife. Su Zisho was frightened by her menacing words and thought that he seemed to have chosen a dangerous option and he should not have spoken to her like that. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei took out her sword from behind and told Su Zisho that if she couldn't go to school, then she had one choice. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that she would meet him if she could no longer attend classes with her beloved. Su Xiaomei asked Su Zisho to think about her and he thought that he had to somehow fix it and calm her down as quickly as possible. Su Zisho patted her on the head and said that he would forgive her only once and teacher Zhao only wanted them to study properly. Su Jisho said that the teacher did not want them to separate and asked her next time not to react so angrily to his words. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that she understood him and he said that she was smart and asked her to go to class with him now. At this time, the student was watching them along with the animal Qiuqiu and the student said that it looked like they had left and they could have left there. Animal Qiuqiu told the student that it seemed that this spirit was bothering Su Zisho and he was interested to know what kind of relationship they were in. Animal Qiuqiu said that it was very interesting and he was thinking about what they were up to after all and what their true plan was. And then suddenly the animal Qiuqiu transformed into a beautiful girl and said that she had long wanted to appear in this form. Qiuqiu said that it was a unique spiritual aura and she was wondering what kind of spirit Su Zisho's friend was. The student asked Qiuqiu to hurry up and put on clothes and said that it was impossible to walk around the streets looking like her. The student told Qiuqiu that if she didn't do this, she would immediately tell her grandfather about it and he would quickly confiscate her acorns. A couple of hours later, all classes ended and all the students went outside after a long school day and could finally relax. Su Zisho was walking with Su Xiaomei and thought that fortunately nothing else happened because he was worried about Su's behavior. Su Zisho wondered if teacher Zhao was not at all angry with Su Xiaomei after she communicated with him and threatened him. Su Xiaomei asked the teacher for forgiveness and he said that he was fine and was not angry with her and she could return to class. And then suddenly the teacher entered the class and told the students that they could sit wherever they wanted just to listen to what he was saying in class. Su Zisho wondered if Daji had done something to the teacher, but although it wasn't that bad and he was happy with everything and had no complaints. Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that she could go home and he had to go to work because his shift was starting. Su Xiaomei thought about his work and asked Su Zisho if they could not go to his work together and she would not interfere. Su Jisho said that it was impossible because he would not be able to work if he took her with him and she listened to his words. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei smiled and told Su Zisho that then she would not get on his scooter and he did not understand her words. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei ran so fast that even Su Zisho had a hard time catching up with her on her scooter because she was fast. Suddenly, Su Zisho's phone rang and it was his boss. He told the boss that he was on his way and was almost there and arrived. But suddenly the boss told Su Zisho that if he didn't come, it was fine and he didn't have to come to work anymore. Su Jisho said that he was sorry about yesterday's delivery but the boss said that it didn't matter, he could have come and collected the money. Su Zisho asked the boss to give him another chance, but suddenly the boss said that he had said everything and, after saying goodbye, he immediately hung up. Su Xiaomei approached him and asked what happened and Su Zisho said that nothing happened and she could move on. Su Zisho thought that he was now unemployed and Su Xiaomei sat on the back of his scooter and asked what about his job. Su Jisho told her that she could forget about it and said that they were going home, and then he left there in not the best mood. Afterwards they returned home and night fell. Su Jisho was getting ready to sleep and Su Xiaomei was sleeping next to him, but he couldn't sleep. Su Jisho looked at her and thought that her sleeping face was too cute and he couldn't even sleep because of it and couldn't rest. Su Jisho thought why everything happened exactly like this and what he could do about it, and various thoughts did not leave him. Su Jisho thought that the spirit of the hunter's bloodline and fate should always repel each other because they were not suitable at all. Therefore, even those spirit hunters who did not want to fight avoided the spirits, and this was an interesting reason for everything. Su Jisho remembered that these were the words of his father and he wondered if they really were not suitable for each other, and his father was right. Su Jisho thought that he was a weakling and Su Xiaomei was his luck, and he thought, but why was he always so unlucky? Su Jisho quietly got out of bed and left the room so as not to wake up Su Xiaomei or disturb her at night at such a time. Su Jisho quietly walked into another room and thought that if he remembered everything correctly, what he was looking for should be there. Su Jisho found the cache and realized that this was the very place he was looking for, and he was very glad that everything worked out for him. Su Jisho thought that fortunately it was hidden very deep and Su Xiaomei could not find it when she was alone at home. It was a manual for spirit hunters and Su Jisho thought it was an idiotic spirit hunter and a medallion. Su Jisho opened the book and thought that now he would see if there was anything useful there that could help him in this matter. Su Jisho started reading a book and thought that he was safe and no one could distract him from an interesting book. But suddenly Su Xiaomei appeared behind him and asked her boyfriend what he was doing there, and he was very scared in earnest. Su Jisho immediately turned around and screamed in fear because he thought that Su Xiaomei had been fast asleep for a long time and would not wake up. Su Jisho told Su Xiaomei that it was really her, but he was afraid that they were robbers and immediately hid the book unnoticed. Su Xiaomei was surprised and asked Su Jisho why he was sitting in this room in the dark and, moreover, all alone, because it's strange. Su Jisho began to think about the answer to her question and came up with nothing and simply decided not to answer her question so that she would not be angry with him. Su Jisho simply smiled at her and said that he would go to bed. After all, he did not understand what he was doing in his sleep and could not answer the question. Su Jisho asked Su Xiaomei not to worry and asked her to also go with him and go to bed to rest and gain strength. Su Xiaomei was surprised and asked how a hole appeared on the floor in the living room, and Su said that it was because he was sleepwalking. Su Jisho asked her not to worry and go to bed without any questions, because he was very tired from this busy day and wanted to sleep. Su Xiaomei was surprised and asked the sweetheart if he really wouldn't change his clothes at night and would sleep in the same clothes he wore on the street. But suddenly Su Xiaomei said that if he couldn't do it himself, then she would help him change clothes and asked him not to worry. Su Jisho realized that the book was still with him and he told her that he would change clothes himself and dropped his amulet on the floor and did not notice it. Su Jisho began to get very nervous and his nose began to bleed, and he asked Su Xiaomei to calm down and control herself. Su Xiaomei asked Su Jisho why his nose was bleeding and he asked her not to worry and it was not scary. Then suddenly the girl on the street felt some kind of feeling and was surprised and thought, was it really an amulet that holds the light? The girl said that she knew it for sure and she had no doubts about it, and it was a holding light. The girl was happy and thought that finally the restraining light had appeared because she had been waiting for this moment for many years. She had a feeling that the light had to be somewhere nearby because she felt it close somewhere in this area. The girl looked at the night sky and thought that this time she would get it and would never miss such an opportunity again. Then morning came and the weather was sunny outside and birds were sitting in the trees and chirping a beautiful melody. Su Jisho lay on the bed and thought that he again could not sleep at night because Su Xiaomei did not allow him to do so. But Su Jisho took the chance to wash his face and hid the book in the toilet and, fortunately for him, Su Xiaomei did not find out anything about it. And then Su Xiaomei suddenly woke up and asked her sweetheart if he had also woken up and wished him good morning. Su Xiaomei told sweet Su Jisho that she would help him get dressed now because she thought he looked like a child. Su Jisho was surprised by her words and refused it and said that he would do it himself and she had to wash her face first. Su Xiaomei asked her boyfriend if he was avoiding her and didn't want her to help him, but Su Jisho denied it. Su Xiaomei told him that he had to put on a t-shirt first and suddenly saw something and asked Su what it was. Su Xiaomei noticed Su Zisho's amulet on the floor and picked it up and asked her sweetheart what it was and how it ended up on the floor. Su Xiaomei asked Su Zisho if it was really his spiritual instrument because it had his scent and it was interesting. Su Zisho got nervous and told her that she was mistaken and said that this thing was his father's and he didn't know how it ended up on the floor. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that his father was impressive and was probably just like him and she thought it was interesting. Su Zisho thought that now was his chance and he had to tell her what he wanted to tell her but could not find a reason to do so. Su Zisho told her that she understood everything correctly and he hid his true powers from her all the time and did not want to reveal it. Su Zisho thought that now she should be trembling with fear and running away from him in fear of such sudden news. But Daji, on the contrary, was happy and said that she was afraid that he was a normal person and was afraid to use her powers. And then suddenly Daji attacked Su Zisho and said that now she could not be afraid and they could be together for centuries and get married. And then suddenly Daji broke the furniture and it shattered into pieces and with it Su Zisho and Daji fell to the floor with all their might. Daji was surprised and asked Su Zisho if he didn't tell her that he was very strong and that he was not an ordinary person like everyone else. But then suddenly Su Zisho opened his eyes and noticed that Daji had tied his hands and feet and he did not understand what was really happening there. Daji took out the scissors and Su Zisho was very scared and asked Daji what she was going to do to him and asked her to stand. And then suddenly Daji told Su Zisho that she would cut out his tongue so that he would never lie to her again because she didn't like it at all. Su Zisho said that she should not have done this and he asked her for forgiveness and said that he would never lie to her again. Su Zisho swore his life and Daji wondered if he really swore his life to her and it was very interesting for her. And then suddenly Daji said that she thought that his tongue was better and asked him not to worry and said that he would not die. Su Zisho began to scream and said that he was not going to die anyway and asked her for mercy and thought that he would soon die. And then suddenly Su Zisho remembered the headman's words that even if she was Jia Nan, her tongue was still more important. And then a tear fell from Su Zisho's eyes and he activated the sim dating mode and told Daji that he would die for her. Su will do this because if he didn't have a tongue, he wouldn't be able to express his love for her and his heart would be broken. Su Zisho told Daji that he loved her and therefore asked her to forgive him this time and said that he would love her forever. Daji was embarrassed and told Su Zisho that she would forgive him if he said that he loved her 100 times and then she would immediately let him go. Su Zisho shouted to the whole house that he loved Daji 100 times and thought that he didn't care if it helped him survive. Afterwards, Su Zisho drank water and thought that his throat was so dry from the fact that he had been shouting about love non-stop all these hours. Su Zisho was indignant and felt as if he had been brainwashed and did everything Daji ordered him and it was bad. Su Zisho started his moped and thought that he should have found a job while Daji was in a good mood today. Su Zisho looked at his house and realized that Daji was still looking at him from the window and she always knew what he was going to do. Su Zisho realized that it was time for him to go because he had to find a new job today so that he could have enough to live on. Su Zisho immediately left from there and said that he was sure that everything would be fine with him, but some girl was watching him. The girl looked at Su Zisho and realized that it looked like the amulet had gone to an ordinary person and she didn't know that it would be so easy. The girl thought that she shouldn't have wasted a second and she should have gotten to work right away and jumped towards Jisho's moped. The girl jumped a couple of meters and landed right in front of Su Zisho's moped and he was surprised and did not understand what happened. Su Zisho got scared and asked her if she was okay and asked why she landed in the middle of the road. But then suddenly she showed her true appearance as a spider and told Su Zisho that there was nothing unusual about him and he was weak. Su Zisho froze in surprise and was in shock and thought how she suddenly changed her appearance and he was scared by it. Su Zisho quickly ran away from there and shouted that the hairy crab had turned into a spirit and wanted to finish him off and he was asking for help. The spider watched him and was surprised and wondered if Su Zisho knew that she was a spirit and how could he know about it. Su Zisho ran away from there with all his might and thought why another spirit was chasing him and what could he do to all these spirits. Su Zisho thought that he had already broken away from her, but suddenly she appeared behind him and told the handsome man that he would not run away from her. And then suddenly she pushed Su Zisho and he lost his way and realized that now he could not escape from her and it was all over. She pressed him to the wall and said that she was a spider, and Su Zisho asked Miss Spider to spare him and not take his life. Su Zisho asked the spider not to come near him because she scared him and he didn't want to become her victim because he was still very young. Su Zisho shouted and asked for help, but passers-by said that Su Zisho was very lucky and he didn't seem to understand it now. The spider came close to Su Zisho and said that he had the blood of a spirit hunter in him, and this time she hit the jackpot. The spider asked Su Zisho where he got this thing, but he didn't understand what she meant and said that he didn't know what she was talking about. The spider began to move her hand to Su Zisho's neck and asked if it was there, but he asked her not to touch him anywhere and remove her hands. And then suddenly the spider said bingo and found the amulet that she had been looking for so long, and she realized that it was originally on his neck. But then suddenly the amulet began to glow with a bright flame and burned the spider's hand, and Su Zisho was surprised that the amulet reacted like that. The spider quickly removed her hand from the amulet and thought what kind of protective magic it was that prevented her from taking this amulet. And then she realized that, as expected, spirits with seals could not touch the amulets that restrained light, and that was a disaster. And then suddenly the spider pointed her finger at Su Zisho and said that from now on he was her slave, and he didn't understand if it was really possible. Su Zisho asked her for forgiveness and said that he did not do such things and was not at all interested in it. But the spider smiled disgustingly and told Su Zisho that his voice meant nothing in this matter and no one listened to his opinion. Su Zisho thought about what this could mean, and suddenly the spider began to tie him up and he didn't know what else she wanted from him. The spider asked Su Zisho to remember one thing and said that she just needed a living person to carry out her plans. The spider continued to tie up Su Zisho and said that they might not even have all the limbs, and she didn't care. Su Zisho observed her behavior and wondered if all the spirits in this world were like this, because Daji was also very evil. The spider began to drag him along with her and said that they had to hurry in order to fulfill all her plans today. But then suddenly the spider was surprised because Su Zisho began to laugh and said that she was still as naughty as before. Su Zisho told the spider that he told her not to leave the house, but she still didn't listen to him and always did everything her own way. But Daji suddenly appeared there and cut the web with which the spider tied Su Zisho in half and freed him in a second. The spider walked away from Su Xiaomei and asked her if she was a spirit and thought that she was also a very strong spirit. Su Zisho told Daji that she came just in time and said that this spider was pestering him, and Daji said that she saw everything. Daji was furious with this spider and wanted to deal with her, and Su Zisho asked her just not to make a big fuss. Daji told the spider that she would now make her answer for all her actions and for attacking her sweetheart and attacking her. The spider was surprised and asked Daji who she was and why she protected him, and said that Su Zisho was her prey. Su Xiaomei told the spider that Su Zisho was her husband and she did not like that some stranger was causing him pain and harm. The spider smiled and did not believe Su Xiaomei's words and thought that Su Zisho could not be her husband and it was simply impossible. The spider asked Su Xiaomei to stop joking and said that Su Zisho had the blood of a spirit hunter and it was interesting. The spider said that her goal was the amulet, and if it wasn't him, then she would have finished him off, and then suddenly Daji continued to attack. Su Xiaomei got angry and told the spider that those who dare to harm her husband will immediately die at her hands and will regret it. The spider defended herself from her and asked Su Xiaomei if he was her husband and why she killed her own kind for the sake of this man. Su Xiaomei asked the spider what difference it made to her and said that she simply loved this man and was ready to do anything for him. Su Xiaomei grabbed the spider by the throat and she told Su Xiaomei that she would regret it and she would take revenge on her soon. Su Xiaomei looked at the spider menacingly and told her that she was mistaken and she would not regret it because she loved him very much. Su Zisho looked at their battle and he was very scared and could not look at it and immediately closed his eyes and calmed down. And then suddenly Su Zisho was surprised why he couldn't hear anything, and then suddenly Su Xiaomei immediately called her sweetheart. Su Zisho looked at Su Xiaomei and asked her where that girl, that is, the spider spirit, had gone, and she said that the spider had escaped. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei then what she was holding in her hand, and she said that it was the leg of a spider that wanted to harm him. Su Zisho looked at Su Xiaomei in horror and asked why she took the leg of this spider and why she needed it separately. Su Xiaomei said that she would make soup from the spider's leg, and Su Zisho was surprised and said that he would never eat this disgusting thing. At night, the The spider walked down the street and thought that the damned fox spirit was to blame for everything, because in fact he proposed to her. The spider said that this damned fox spirit was a traitor to the spirits, and how could she protect an ordinary person from her spirits. The spider was furious and said that she would not forget what Su Xiaomei did and only wanted her to wait for her to retaliate. The spider said that she would take his life as compensation and she should now rest a little and gain strength. At this time, Su Zishou and Su Xiaomei were sitting at home and he asked her if she knew what kind of instrument it was because of which he did not die. Su Xiaomei took the amulet in her hands and said that she was not sure what it was and asked him why he asked her about it. Su Zishou remembered and thought that the goal of the spider spirit seemed to be this amulet, but he didn't know why she needed it so much. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei thought and told Su Zishou that she had one guess that could explain the purpose of the spider spirit. Su Xiaomei said that she thought that she saw the same symbol on the spider's chest as this amulet and she was somehow connected with it. Su Xiaomei said that this proved that the goal of the spider spirit was this particular amulet, and she took the amulet and gave it to Su Zishou. And then suddenly Su Zishou took the amulet in his hands and threw it through the window and told Su Xiaomei that they were now safe. The amulet flew somewhere to the side and Su Zishou said that he never wanted to see it again so that they would not have any problems. Su Zishou asked Su Xiaomei if she had seen this brilliant plan and said that only he could come up with it because he was a genius. But then suddenly the amulet returned back to Su Zishou's house and hit him on the head with all its might and knocked him down and he fell to the floor. Su Xiaomei was very scared and asked dear Su Zishou how he felt and if he was okay after the sudden blow. Su Zishou was surprised and thought about how this happened and why the amulet flew back to the house and how it could be explained. Su Xiaomei sat next to him and asked if he didn't know anything about magic tools and how they worked in this world. Su Zishou said that he only knew about them, that they existed, but was never interested in how they worked and wanted an explanation. Su Xiaomei said that this was not enough and asked how about starting training now without wasting a second. Su Zishou asked about the training and Su Xiaomei said that then they could find out more information about these instruments. Su Zishou asked Su Xiaomei if she was sure and wondered if she was checking on him or if she didn't care about his health. Su Xiaomei said that everything was serious because she always had to be very careful not to kill her dear husband. Su Zishou looked at the spirit hunting guide book and told Xiaomei that it looks like he will have to learn these masculine techniques. Su Xiaomei asked her dear husband because he inherited this from his father and why hasn't he learned it until now. Su Zishou immediately closed his eyes and said that he would now tell her why he didn't learn this because there was a reason. Su Zishou remembered his childhood and told Su Xiaomei that it was all about that place and he still could not forget about it. The father told Su Zishou that today he was going to teach him the spirit hunting techniques of the Su family and reveal all the secrets to him. The man asked Su Zishou to move a little back from the house and said that it could be dangerous there and he was worried about him. And then suddenly a woman came out to them and said was it really a spirit hunter and told him to leave her possessions if he wanted to live. The man told her if she was a spirit killer and he thought that it seemed that he was not mistaken in his guesses and was 100% right. The woman told the spirit hunter that today would be his last day and he would not leave there alive and unharmed and would suffer. The man smiled and told the spirit to come up to him and not be shy because he was 100% confident in his strengths and skills. The man told Su Zishou that he was currently using a spirit hunting technique and asked him to watch the technique in action. The spirit woman immediately rushed to attack the man, but he quickly dodged her blow and she could not hit him. Su Zishou was surprised and asked his father if this was really the family equipment, because he expected that it was some kind of cool equipment. The woman fell face down on the ground and asked to be saved because her appearance was ruined and she could no longer fix it. The spirit woman immediately stood up and looked at the spirit hunter with hatred and said that he was a bastard and had no honor. And then suddenly the spirit woman rushed at the spirit hunter and said that he deserved to go to hell now. The spirit woman continued to attack the spirit hunter, but he easily defended himself from her attacks and asked if she could offer something else. The spirit woman told him to shut up and continued to strike, but nothing worked for her and she was already starting to get tired. The spirit hunter smiled and asked her if she was already tired because he thought that she was just warming up before the battle. The spirit woman began to run away from there and told him that it was their problem that they could not catch her and wanted to escape from there. The spirit hunter asked her if she was trying to escape and asked Su Zishou to look carefully at his actions. The hunter used the Su family technique called 5 elemental bets and directed the fire towards the spirit woman. The spirit woman immediately fell to the ground and suddenly her dress changed color and she did not understand what the hunter had just done to her. The hunter told her that it was a technique of the fire traders but in the form of a Chinese dress and those who are bound by it will be weak and powerless. The hunter approached the woman and said that she could not use her spirit spells and in this dress she was powerless. The hunter told Su Zisho's son that it was a modified technique of his grandfather and it was cooler than some kind of fire ring spell. The hunter told Su Zisho that if he didn't like this technique, he didn't have to worry because he didn't have to doubt its strength. The spirit hunter told Su Zisho's son that in this regard he had other attributes that could surprise him now. The hunter used another technique on the female spirit and this was a water binding technique that slowed down these spirits. The hunter showed him a tree binding technique that drained life energy from them, but Su was not interested in this. The hunter continued and showed his son the technique of full gold binding and Jisho wanted to learn something new. The hunter told his son that it seemed to him that his son didn't like girls at all and the son told his father that he could doubt it as much as he wanted. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei began to call her dear husband and he came to his senses from the memories and finally returned to the present time. Su Zisho thought and asked Daji what happened and she told the darling that he had been standing for a long time, thinking and not moving. Su Zisho asked Daji, she told him that he had let her go, but now he wanted first of all to be captured by his father. Daji was surprised what he meant because she didn't understand a single word that he just told her, some kind of nonsense. Daji smiled and told sweet Su Zisho that he had to hurry up and study and should not waste a second. Su Zisho looked at her and told Daji that she had some kind of suspicious expression on her face and it was strange. Su Jisho asked Daji to forget about it and said that his life was much more important and began to read the book left by his ancestors. Su Zisho realized that it was written there that only people could study the ways of justice and purify the mind and mix yin and yang. It said that if one wanted his mind to be focused he had to gather his thoughts and calm his heart and ideas. Su Zisho should have collected their minds into the size of a stone and then they could try to touch a physical object. And then suddenly something appeared in front of Su Zisho and Daji was surprised and asked if he did it and it was true. Su Zisho directed this flow of energy to the side and told Su Xiaomei that they will now see if he can touch something. Su Zisho directed a stream of energy into a cup standing on the table and suddenly he said that he felt something and it was his cup. Su Jisho, with the help of this energy, was able to find out that it was a sofa cabinet and a TV, but he could only take small things. And then Daji distracted Su Zisho and brought him a phone and said that he had a missed call and someone called him recently. Su Jisho thanked her and took the phone from her and said to Daji, he'll go and call this person back before it's too late. Su Jisho called back and asked the boss if he could collect his salary tomorrow and he said that he understood him and said goodbye to him. The next day, the man sat on the water fountain square in the Central Park and fed the fish and enjoyed the beautiful morning. And then suddenly a girl in a hood approached him and greeted Master Ji Kun and she was glad to see him. Ji Kun asked her if she was injured and asked if it was a spirit hunter and he injured her in this way in the battle. But suddenly the spider said that Ji Kun was mistaken and it was a fox spirit and she entered into battle with her and seriously injured her in this battle. Ji Kun was surprised to hear such words and asked the spider why the fox spirit did this to her because the hunters were real enemies. The spider said that this fox spirit protected the spirit hunter and she protected him from her attacks in every way and even saved him from her. Ji Kun didn't believe the news at first, but suddenly he got angry and told the spider that this fox spirit was a degenerate. And then suddenly Ji Kun looked at the spider and ordered her to go after him and he had a plan and she agreed with him and went after the boss. Suddenly Ji Kun brought the spider to some place and asked if he could find Xiao Tong Tong there because he needed him at that very time. And then suddenly a man appeared in front of Ji Kun and greeted him and called him Xiao Hua Hua and he was glad to see him. Xiao Tong Tong took off his glasses and asked Ji Kun what he needed from him and why he called him suddenly in broad daylight. Ji Kun told him that it seems he already told him not to call him Xiao Hua Hua because he didn't like it at all. The man looked at Ji Kun and said that then he should have stopped calling him Xiao Tong Tong first and that made him nervous. And then suddenly Ji Kun saw a tied-up man in this room and asked Xiao Tong Tong if it was really a spirit hunter. Ji Kun told Xiao Tong Tong that although their views did not coincide, he asked if he had gone too far with such methods. Xiao Tongtong asked Ji Kun not to tell him this and asked him to just mind his own business so that he could live more peacefully. Xiao Tongtong asked Ji Kun if he really came to chat with him and told him to tell him why he came there and found him. Ji Kun said that Xiao Zhuzhu had some news that he would really like and said that she would tell him everything now. Early in the morning at school, all the students were furious in their classes and were busy with their own business, and Su Zisho also came to school early in the morning. Su Zisho was sitting and sleeping in class when suddenly his friend came up to him and said good morning to brother Su and sister Su Xiaomei. The student approached Su Xiaomei and asked his sister what time the two of them went to bed yesterday, and she said that it was about 3:30. The student asked Su Xiaomei to tell Su Zisho to take care of his body, and she did not understand what he meant. Teacher Zhao entered the class and said good morning to the students and said that they would cheer up, and another student came to their class. Teacher Zhao asked the new student to come into the classroom so that she could introduce herself to all the students and make friends with them. And then suddenly a beautiful student came into their class and greeted everyone and said that her name was Zhenbeng and she was very happy. Su Xiaomei and friend Su Zisho were shocked, and the student said, "Is there really another pretty waifu in their class? And that's cool." The student told Miss Zhenbeng that she could sit behind Miss Su Xiaomei and help each other because that way she would be close to him. And then suddenly Zhenbeng walked up to Su Zisho and greeted her new classmate and stood next to his desk. Zhenbeng turned to Su Zisho and said that she was glad to meet students like them and moved to their class. Su Zisho woke up from this and wondered if it was already time for the lesson and thought that he still didn't get enough sleep. And then suddenly Zhenbeng smiled and asked Su Zisho to take care of her, and she had a hellish and vile smile. Su Zisho was shocked by her appearance because she reminded him of a spider, and he froze in surprise and looked at her silently for a couple of seconds. And then suddenly Jisho screamed and asked for help and wanted to escape from the window, but his friend stopped him and said that this was the 3rd floor. Zhenbeng did not understand Su Zisho's reaction and said, was she really that scary? And the student said that Zisho was an idiot. Teacher Zhao was outraged by Su Zisho's behavior and ordered him to sit down and asked him not to disrupt the lesson and sit quietly. Su Zisho asked Teacher Zhao for forgiveness, and his friend asked him to calm down and sit down because Zhen was an ordinary miss. Su Zisho sat down and thought that he recognized the spider, but did not know what she needed and why she moved to their class today. Su Xiaomei looked at Zhenbeng the spider and said that if she dared to approach Su Zisho, she would immediately finish her off. Zhenbeng asked Su Xiaomei to relax and asked if she really thought that she was afraid of her words and it was just funny. And then suddenly Su Zisho looked at Su Xiaomei and asked her not to do this and said that they would sort it out after school outside. Zhenbeng smiled at Su Xiaomei's face and asked what happened to her and why she was so nervous and beside herself today. Zhenbeng thought that Xiao Tongtong should have waited because Ling Chao was right and he did not act in crowded places. And then suddenly his friend Su Zisho saw his excitement and asked if everything was okay with him because he looked very pale. Su Zisho told his friend that nothing happened and asked him to just focus on Teacher Zhao's lesson and listen to him. Su Zisho thought that he felt tense and he had to do something to relax and calm down. Teacher Zhao asked the students to turn the book to page 45 and said that they would understand the text what Lu Sun was talking about. Zhenbeng sat in the classroom and listened to Teacher Zhao, and she thought that this class was really very cool and fun. But then suddenly Zhenbeng let the spider out of her hands and thought that now the fox spirit and this spirit hunter will pay for everything. This spider was moving around the floor and asked its little sister if she could just throw it where she wanted to see it. The spider began to approach Su Zisho and her sister, that their goal was still very far away, and it seemed that she was unlucky this time with the victim. But when the spider approached Su Zisho, a pencil suddenly flew in and stuck into her, and she realized that there were traps there. Zhenbeng sat and watched this and was shocked and frozen in surprise because she was sure that her spider would get to him. But then Su Xiaomei suddenly smiled in her face and asked Zhenbeng for this, and she didn't intentionally drop the pencil on the floor. Zhenbeng realized that she could not use this trick next to the damned fox because she had always protected Su Zisho. Zhenbeng looked at Su Zisho and thought what a headache it was that she couldn't get rid of it. But Zhenbeng smiled slyly and thought that fortunately she still had a plan B and she didn't have to worry about this mission. After a couple of hours, Teacher Zhao gave the students homework and said that they must remember today's text and learn it. Spider Zhenbeng immediately after school ran toward Su Zisho and asked him to go out with her and play outside. Zhenbeng wanted to touch Su Zisho, but suddenly Su Xiaomei appeared next to her and pushed her and told her to leave. Zhenbeng was offended by this and told Miss Su Xiaomei that it was very rude and she did not invite her so she could leave. Su Xiaomei got angry and told Zhenbeng that she didn't care what she wanted because Su Zisho wouldn't go anywhere anyway. Zhenbeng smiled and told Su Xiaomei that she could not manage this matter and asked her not to interfere in their affairs. Zhenbeng held a lot of threads in her hand and said that Su Zisho will be the person who decided the outcome of the matter and he will not escape. And then suddenly Su Zisho realized that there was something wrong with Zhenbeng's words and he became wary and did not understand what she meant. And then suddenly Su Zisho turned around and was shocked and frozen in surprise because he could not imagine that he would see such a sight. Su Zisho noticed that all the students in the class were in a web and he could not understand how this could happen to his friends. Su Zisho felt sorry because he saw class head Du Shi in the web and he felt sorry that she also suffered because of the spider. Su Zisho saw his friend Shan Dian in the web and thought that although he was stupid, he was a good person and friend. Su Zisho noticed that Jiang Qiqi's student also did not move and froze in place, and he became even more angry at the spider for her action. Su Zisho asked Zhenbeng what she was going to do to the students and said that they were innocent of this. The spider said that everything was very simple and he had to tell his fox to be obedient and he would go with her. And then Qiqi's animal suddenly woke up and she was surprised because she felt a strong smell of spirit in this class. And then suddenly she noticed that Jiang Qiqi showed no signs of life and she was surprised and wondered what happened to her. The animal said to Sister Jiang Qiqi, didn't she notice what the spider was up to and how could she fall for her trick and be naive? And the animal immediately hid behind the desk and began to quietly watch the conflict between Su Zisho and the spider and wait for what would happen next. The animal looked at them and thought what was happening now, and were 8-legged and 4-legged people fighting for 2-legged people? Su Zisho realized that he had no other choice and Su Xiaomei didn't care about anyone except him and he couldn't set her up. Su Zisho took out the amulet and told the spider that if this was what she was looking for, then he could give it to her right now. The animal thought that this was not good and he had to figure out a way to contact the store owner now. But the animal thought that these two were very strong and it would be dangerous for him to transform, and then he got an idea. Su Zisho was ready to give the spider the amulet, but suddenly she said that she needed it yesterday, but today she didn't need it. Su Zisho was surprised and asked the spider what she needed from him then and why she followed him everywhere and threatened him. And then suddenly the spider smiled and told Su Zisho that she almost forgot that she wanted to give him something special. Su Zisho listened to the spider and asked her if she would allow him to pass and leave the class if he gave her what she wanted. The spider agreed with him and said that she would immediately release everyone after he fulfilled his promise and obeyed her. Su Xiaomei got angry and asked Su Zisho why he had to save the students because it was better when he was healthy. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei to let him go and said that he had already made a decision and had to save all the students from the spider. Su Zisho was angry and told Su Xiaomei that these disciples were all in danger because of him and they were innocent of anything. Su Xiaomei froze in surprise and after listening to him, she realized that he was a very kind and caring person and he was right. Su Xiaomei got angry and told Su Zisho that she would get rid of the spider right now, but he asked her to wait. But then suddenly the spider pulled Su Zisho's friend towards her and he got scared because the spider pulled him towards herself very strongly. The student landed next to the spider and collapsed straight to the floor and the spider asked them if they really wanted to get rid of her. Spider told Su Zisho that if he wanted all the students to go down with her, then he could do whatever he wanted. Su Xiaomei became even more angry and furious at the spider's actions and said that she should have begged her for mercy. Su Xiaomei wanted to deal with the spider but suddenly Su Zisho stopped her and said that she should not have done anything. Spider got tired of watching the argument between Su Zisho and Su Xiaomei and asked him if he had made a decision because she was already tired. Su Zisho asked the spider if she would do anything to the students if Su Xiaomei stopped attacking her and interfering with her. Su Xiaomei immediately stopped resisting and the spider was happy and said that it was better this way and he was smart. And then suddenly Zhenbeng launched a spider along Su Zisho's hand and said that it was better for him to take care of his treasure. Su Zisho froze in surprise and could not understand why Zhenbeng did this and silently looked at the spider in his hand. And then suddenly the spider bit Su Zisho's hand and he froze in shock because he was not ready for this, and Su Xiaomei also got scared and screamed. Su Jisho said that he fulfilled his promise and asked Zhenbeng to immediately release the students so that they could leave from there. Zhenbeng said that of course she would let them go because he was an obedient person and fulfilled all her demands. Su Xiaomei noticed that the spider began to release students from its threads and she was thinking through a plan of action to destroy the spider. The animal stood on a chair and couldn't unlock the phone. My sister didn't know what the password was. Su Xiaomei told the spider that it was good that the students were free and told the spider that now she will pay for her behavior. And then Su Xiaomei rushed at the spider and wanted to end her once and for all for harming Su Zisho. Su Xiaomei hit the spider and their fists collided and there was a deafening roar and it became very dusty in the classroom. The spider told Su Xiaomei that it was great and asked her why she stopped and didn't strike anymore. Su Xiaomei was shocked because she saw that Su Zisho was standing near the spider and protecting her from blows and other dangers. The spider told her that her spider had already taken control of Su Zisho's system and she could finish him off at any time if she wanted. The spider smiled and told Su Xiaomei that her blow was hard and it was close and she almost did not react to it and froze. Su Xiaomei was very angry and told the spider that if she dared to harm her husband, she would definitely kill her. The spider smiled disgustingly and asked Su Xiaomei if she really wanted to finish her off and if she was offended by her. The spider stood near the window and grabbed Su Zisho's hand and told Su Xiaomei that she had to follow her for salvation. Su Xiaomei told the spider to stand and she also chased after her and hoped that she would not miss her and would save Su Zisho. Su Xiaomei thought that she had to hurry because the spider had already disappeared behind the wall and she lost sight of it and that was bad. And immediately after the spider left, the students came to their senses and Jiang Qiqi did not understand what happened there and she did not remember the recent events. Su Jisho's friend also came to his senses and said that he remembered the end of classes and did not know why they were still sitting in class. And then suddenly Jiang Qiqi's phone rang and she wondered why her phone was lying somewhere to the side and who touched it. Jiang Qiqi called her grandfather and she said that she was listening to him and asked what he needed and why he called her. Jiang Qiqi's grandfather said that he was standing on the balcony of their school and asked her to go up there and bring Qiqi with her. The student couldn't understand where Qiqi had gone and then she appeared in front of her and said that she was there and everything was fine with her. At this time, Su Xiaomei caught up with the spider with Su Zisho and asked her why she didn't run and stopped because there was a catch. Su Xiaomei asked the spider if she was ready to go to hell and said that she could easily fulfill her wish now. The spider said that she didn't want this because the world was huge and she didn't have enough entertainment and that's why she was having fun with them now. Su Xiaomei looked at her feet and froze in surprise, and the spider told Su Xiaomei that she very easily fell into her trap. Su Xiaomei realized that it was a fire field binding technique and wondered how she could not have noticed that the spider was luring her into a trap. The spider told Su Xiaomei not to move and said that if she took even one step, she would immediately kill her husband Su Zisho. Su Xiaomei didn't know what to do because she didn't want to lose her sweetheart, but she needed to get out of this magic circle. Su Xiaomei was in a lot of pain but she resisted and looked at the spider and told her to let Su Zisho go on good terms. Spider told Su Xiaomei that now she had to think about herself and said that Master Ling Chao was finally already there and she was waiting for him. Suddenly, people appeared behind the spider and she told Master Ling Chao that the plan was successfully completed and she had completed the task. And then suddenly Ling Chao appeared there and he silently smiled and looked at the spider and he was very pleased that everything was done. Ling Chao approached Su Zisho and asked the spider if she really needed help for such a weak guy because he was a fool. Su Xiaomei was furious at this and screamed at them and told Ling Chao not to touch Su Zisho and to keep his vile hands off him. Ling Chao looked at Su Xiaomei and said that he would fulfill the request of the spirit trader and would not touch this common man. But suddenly Ling Chao hit Su Zisho in the face with all his might and told Su Xiaomei that he could hit him as much as he wanted. Su Xiaomei wanted to get out of there and told Ling Chao that she would finish everyone off and they would regret these actions and be afraid of her. Ling Chao smiled and told Su Xiaomei that it seemed like she still didn't understand the situation here and didn't understand what was going on. And then suddenly Lin Zar began to take a pistol out of his jacket and said that he himself would quickly teach her good manners. Suddenly Ling Chao shot at Su Xiaomei and hit her on the shoulder with a bullet and said that he was not afraid of anyone and was always right in decisions. Ling Chao smiled a nasty smile and asked Su Xiaomei. Now she found out who was in charge and who shouldn't have talked to like that. Su Xiaomei fell to her knee and told Ling Chao that he used such schemes and was a weak and shameless scoundrel with no honor. Ling Chao pointed a gun at Su Xiaomei and told the traitor spirit protecting the spirit hunter that he was not shameless. Ling Chao wanted to pull the trigger and told Su Xiaomei that she could reflect on her actions in hell and she would have time for that. But suddenly Su Zisho called Su Xiaomei and asked her not to worry, and suddenly a cloud of energy began to fly towards them. A cloud of energy hit Ling Chao's hand and the bullet passed by Su Xiaomei, and Su Zisho asked her to hurry up and get out of there. Su Xiaomei asked Ling Chao to stop and not do this because he was planning something very bad and did not listen to anyone around. Ling Chao grabbed a cloud of energy with his hand and pointed a gun at it and said that it was amazing spiritual power, and he was surprised. And then suddenly Ling Chao flattened the spiritual power in his hands and asked the disciples if they really wanted to make him laugh with such actions. Su Zisho seemed to have started to fall in zero gravity and he had a headache and he couldn't hear anything and he wondered if he would die there. Su Zisho thought that if he died, wouldn't Daji pose a danger, and he thought that then everyone would leave her behind. Su Zisho saw a dragon in his fantasies and remembered that all his life everyone said that he could not do anything and was a loser. Su Xiaomei shouted to the sweetheart and asked him to hold on with all his might and not to succumb to the magic of these evil people because he was very strong. Suddenly Ling Chao looked at Su Xiaomei and was very surprised because he didn't think that they were really a couple and thought that it was a lie. Ling Chao told Su Xiaomei that Su Zisho was really her sweetheart and said that he thought that they had a master-servant relationship. Ling Chao approached Su Xiaomei and pointed a gun at her and said that it was disgusting and she should have died now. Su Zisho was still under the influence of the spider and stood silently and watched as Ling Chao threatened her and began to make some noises. And then suddenly Su Zisho began to glow and the spider was surprised and thought what kind of light it was and why her control suddenly disappeared. And then suddenly Su Zisho shouted at all the people and said that he was not ready to die yet and said that they would pay now. Su Zisho said that that's why Su Xiaomei had better hurry up and escape from there before it's too late and hide somewhere. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei ran to Ling Chao while he was distracted and deprived him of his hand, and he thought, how was this possible? Ling Chao was surprised and asked Su Xiaomei if she really could get out of his binding circle and how is this possible. Ling Chao told Su Xiaomei that she was very strong and did not show them her strength, and he thought that she was very weak. Ling Chao said that he made a fatal mistake, but it was amazing and he saw the black fox fire taking 9,000 years to form. Ling Chao smiled at Su Xiaomei and said that she would not be able to finish him off because he knew her through and through and she would not be able to kill him. Su Xiaomei looked menacingly at Ling Chao and said that it was better for him to prepare for death and said that he was very mistaken. Ling Chao said that he would try to do this, and suddenly Su Xiaomei began to glow and she wanted to deal the final blow to him. But Ling Chao simply watched her actions and wanted to see if she could attack him and deliver her powerful blows. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei directed all her strength at him and thought that this should have been enough to finish him off. But suddenly at that moment everything became dusty and Su Xiaomei couldn't see anything and everything became very quiet and it was strange. And then suddenly, when the dust cleared, Su Xiaomei looked there and wondered if he really escaped from there and when did he manage. Su Xiaomei stood next to the place where the villain disappeared and said that Tu Xiong Song said everything correctly and he greatly underestimated her. And then suddenly a piece of earth fell underground and it was Ling Chao and his accomplice, and they still managed to escape from there on time. Ling Chao said that they did it and this time they managed to stay alive, but they needed to prepare to attack. Ling Chao sat next to the girl and asked her how she felt and whether she had received serious injuries from the fall. Ling Chao communicated with an accomplice and spoke about the strength of the fox's spirit, which he underestimated, and suddenly his lost hand fell into the water. Ling Chao apologized to his accomplice for the fact that she had to use a lot of energy to use earth magic. The girl told Ling Chao that he always got into trouble when spirits and spirit hunters were together and fought with him. Ling Chao told her that she should have known about his parents and told her a story, after which the girl understood everything. Suddenly the water returned Ling Chao's hand and he said that it was bad that the spirit hunter escaped from their control because they were close. Ling Chao said that Su Zisho was clearly weak and they should have taken this chance and taken him when he was vulnerable. And then suddenly the accomplice told Ling Chao that when the fox spirit attacked, she felt a familiar smell and was very surprised. Ling Chao listened to her and asked the accomplice if they had met Su Xiaomei before, and he was very interested in knowing this. The girl did not give an exact answer to his question and said that it was possible because it seemed to her that she already knew the fox spirit. Ling Chao thought about it and said that it was good and Su Xiaomei was helping her bring back her forgotten memories and that was cool. But suddenly the accomplice looked at Ling Chao and said, has he already forgotten that she wanted to finish them all off and it almost succeeded? Night fell and Su Zisho walked on the street and said that it was good that he was still alive because he was in danger. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei what she was doing and said that they should hurry up and go home because it was already very late. Su Xiaomei was carrying a spider and Su Zisho was surprised and asked her if she would again cook soup from all sorts of strange things. Su Zisho told her that he would not eat this soup because he did not want to try anything that was made from perfume and it was wrong. Su Xiaomei said that making soup out of the spider was not enough and said that this time she would grind it into powder and it would disappear. Su Zisho was against this idea and asked Su Xiaomei to forget about it once and for all and throw the spider somewhere away from there. But then suddenly Su Zisho thought and had an idea and decided that he should try to do something and see for himself. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei to put the spider on the ground first and she did not understand what he wanted to do and why it was necessary. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei not to worry and said that he wanted to check something and make sure his guess was true. Su Zisho just wanted to touch the spider but suddenly Su Xiaomei screamed at him and asked the cute one what he was doing to her. Su Zisho asked her not to misunderstand him and he just wanted to see the tattoo on her chest because it was like in an amulet. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that she would look at the tattoo herself now and she began to carefully study the spider tattoo. But suddenly Su Xiaomei covered Su Zisho's eyes with her tail and said that he didn't have to look at the spider now. Su Xiaomei said that she herself had already looked and studied the spider and Su Zisho said that she covered his nose and he could not breathe. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei if the spider was already dead and if they should have buried her so as not to leave her on the street. Su Xiaomei said that the spider was alive because if she was dead, she should have been in her true spider form. And at that very second, Zhenbeng turned into a spider and Su Zisho stood in shock and asked Su Xiaomei, looks like the spider is now dead. Su Xiaomei carefully touched the spider with a stick and told Su Zisho that the spider could hear her and pretend to survive. Su Zisho sighed with sadness because he wanted this to end quickly and for him to return to his normal life and studies. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei to go from there but she stood next to the spider and asked him to wait and she was waiting for some action. And then suddenly something began to happen to the spider and strange waves appeared and Su Xiaomei asked the cute one to look at it. Su Zisho said that the red waves were the souls that she absorbed and the white waves were the energy that the spider stole from people. Su Xiaomei and Su Zisho stood there and were happy because now the souls of all these people were free and that was good. Su Xiaomei said that souls will be reincarnated and the spirit and energy will return to their owners and they will find peace. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that it was great and she was upset that the spider had ruined so many human souls. Su Zisho looked at the fox spirit and saw that she was silently watching this and was happy and calm at this time. Su Xiaomei said thank you to Su Zisho for today because he helped her with everything and pressed herself against his shoulder and she felt protected. Afterwards they returned home and lay on the bed and Su Zisho thought that he never thought that Su Xiaomei would be so happy. Su Zisho thought that if it weren't so obvious and he would feel more like a spirit hunter and he was happy for her. Su Zisho lay and thought about debt absorption and he did not remember anything like this and was surprised to learn about it for the first time recently. Su Zisho thought about the fox released from the cage and wondered what had happened and lay there and began to remember his childhood. As a child, Su Zisho sat in his room and did his homework and didn't think about anything and he felt very good at that moment. And then suddenly his father kicked his door and said that his beloved father had returned and his son asked the idiot to knock on his door. But suddenly Su Zisho's father told his son that he had brought him something good and asked his son to stand up and take a closer look at it. Su Zisho asked his father if it was a spirit and he said that he had never caught any of them and how did he do it. Su Zisho's father told his son that this time everything was different and it was the spirit of the nine-tailed fox and she was an incredible spirit. Su Zishou's father told his son that if they could extract the spirit from her, they could find out more information about the ancient god. Su Jishou's father asked his son if he didn't want to know about the god sealing the war, and Jishou said that he was not interested. The son told his father that he remembered that he told him that the 6 tails beat him and he did not know what the 9 tails would do to him. The father told Su Zishou that as soon as he finished studying it, he would make him a spiritual protection tool especially for his son. Su Zishou thought about this and told his father that he did not want this and he did not need him to somehow cripple this fox for this. The father asked his son why he didn't want it and asked how he didn't understand the benefits of this spirit tool like a fox. Su Jishou's father began to tell him that this tool would protect him from dust, keep him warm and protect him from water, fire and lightning. Su Jishou's father said that this armor will keep him safe and the protection will be such that even a bull will not harm him. Su Jishou's father told his son that there was no need to worry about robberies and spirits, but the son threw his father out of his room. Su Zishou thought that he was very annoyed by his father's words because he didn't think at all about the lives of defenseless spirits and that was bad. And then suddenly Su Zishou turned around and thought that he had forgotten to throw away the cage with the beast that his father had just brought him. Su Zishou looked at the fox in the cage and realized that he was very badly hurt and he needed help for her to survive today. Su Zishou looked at her and couldn't understand why he was emitting light and did he really have a feeling of closeness when he approached. Su Zishou opened the cage and took the fox in his arms and thought, is this really the very charm with which foxes are born? Su Zishou looked at the fox and thought that his father would not have been able to inflict such heavy damage on him as was possible. But then suddenly Su Jishou's father walked into his son's room and froze in surprise and was shocked at why his son was holding it in his hand. Su Zishou asked his father how he got there and the father asked his son why he pulled him out and did he really want to die now. Jishou said that the fox was wounded and the father asked if it was really that important. He said that while he was alive he posed a huge threat. And right after Su Jishou's father threw the fox back into the cage, his father noticed that he did not take his eyes off him the whole time. And then suddenly the cage became loose and the room became very dusty and Su Zishou was surprised and did not understand what was happening there. The spirit began to transform and Su Zishou asked his father what was happening there and he thought maybe the spirit was regaining consciousness. Su Jishou's father told his son that it seemed he was right and said that it was problematic and she could cause a lot of problems. And then suddenly the fox spirit turned into a girl and took on a human form and she looked very beautiful and sweet. She looked at Su Zishou and asked them who they were and why he locked her in some kind of cage and what they needed from her. Su Zishou's father smiled and said that the spirit form was like a child and it seems that it has not yet fully recovered. The fox spirit thought about what form of the child he meant and was very angry at these people because they hurt her a lot. And then suddenly Su Zishou asked her if she was injured and asked her not to move so that his father would not hurt her. The fox spirit did not want to listen to Su Zishou and told him to hurry up and let her go quickly before she got angry and answered them. Su Jishou's father said that it was not easy for him to find her and asked how he could let her go so easily because she was a find. Su Zishou was very surprised by his father's words and asked him if it was he who found her and why he lied to him recently about this spirit. Su Jishou's father looked at his son and froze in surprise because he did not expect such words from his son and did not know why he said so. And then suddenly Su Zishou said that something was happening to him and why his heart was beating so fast and he had a headache. Su Zishou's father did not understand what was happening to his son and asked the fox spirit what she had just done to his son. But Su Xiaomei didn't understand what Su Zishou's father meant, and she also looked in surprise at what was happening to his son. And then suddenly Su Zishou's hand began to shine and some kind of glow appeared there and he could not explain this phenomenon to his father. Su Zishou's hand continued to shine and he thought that it was some kind of mysticism that he had not seen yet in their world and it was strange. And then suddenly Su Zishou woke up abruptly and was trembling because he was afraid of what was happening to him and thought that he was there. Su Zishou looked at his hand and wished that it was really a dream and he was glad that it did not turn out to be true as he had previously thought. Su Zishou came to his senses after this dream and thought that everything seemed very real to him and he even believed in it. Su Zishou felt that this little nine-tailed fox was Su Xiaomei, who was now living with him. Su Zisho looked at the sleeping Su Xiaomei and realized that now this fox had grown up and met him again in the future after many years. Su Zisho sat and thought that this dream seemed very strange to him and that something was wrong and did not look like a dream. Su Zisho thought why he felt close to Su Xiaomei at that time, but now he didn't feel anything like that and it's strange. Su Zisho thought that besides, he would never let her go in such a situation again and would always protect her just like she did him. But Su Zisho decided that all this was pointless and he needed to discard such thoughts and better get on with some business. And then Su Xiaomei herself suddenly woke up and Su Zisho was surprised and hoped that he did not say his thoughts out loud. Su Xiaomei said good morning to Su Zisho and he greeted her and said that he was glad that she woke up and asked how she slept. And then suddenly Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei if she remembered how they met for the first time and said that he had completely forgotten about it. Su Xiaomei froze in surprise and wondered if her dear husband could forget such an important day in their life and how it happened. Suddenly Su Xiaomei looked menacingly at Su Zisho and asked if he forgot such an important thing and why wasn't he ashamed. Suddenly, Xiaomei told Zisho that she heard that they regained their memories when they had a near-death experience. Su Zisho was very scared and thought that Xiaomei would definitely do something like this and make him have a near-death experience. Su Xiaomei saw that Su Zisho's expression had changed and she asked her sweetheart what happened to him so suddenly. Su Zisho told her that nothing had happened and she didn't have to worry, and he became very embarrassed and immediately turned away from her. Morning came and all the students came to school and Su Zisho and Su Xiaomei were also in a good mood and wanted to study in the morning. Su Zisho thought that he still felt that he was forgetting something very important besides that dream and could not understand it at all. Su Zisho and Su Xiaomei were drinking drinks and he parked his moped and thought what it was and why he couldn't understand the truth. Su Zisho said that this was something he had to do yesterday and then Su Xiaomei said that her box was empty. Su Zisho remembered and said that he had to drive like crazy to the store to get his salary on time. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei noticed that Su Zisho had a box of drink in her hand and she walked up to it and tasted it. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei realized that it was a damn spider spirit and she didn't understand how Su Zisho drank her all this time without any problems. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei spat the entire drink right in Su Zisho's face and said that it was disgusting and immediately apologized for it. Su Zisho was angry with her and he rubbed his face and thought that he didn't know if it was too late for him to go today and thought about it. Jisho went to school and decided that he would go to the store and ask about everything after school and find out all the interesting information. Su Zisho noticed the head girl at school and thought that she probably did not remember yesterday's events and had no idea about anything. Su Zisho greeted the head of the class and wished her a good school day and may she always be healthy. The head of the class greeted Su Zisho and he realized that all the students really did not remember anything about yesterday's terrible spider. Su Zisho and Su Xiaomei came to class and he thought and was glad that finally his peaceful life returned and everything was fine. Su Zisho wanted to put the sheet under the desk, but suddenly he wondered why he couldn't insert it there and what was stopping him. And then suddenly Su Zisho noticed that there was an envelope under his desk and he didn't understand where it came from and who left it there. And then suddenly Su Zisho noticed that in addition to the envelope there was a letter there and he was very surprised who could have done this. The letter said that there was a keychain that was good for preventing disasters and it was effective against spirits. Su Xiaomei walked up to him and said that she felt that the smell of another girl was coming from him and Su Zisho froze in shock. Su Zisho pushed Su Xiaomei aside and asked how could this happen because there were so many people in the class and she made a mistake. Su Zisho thought that the keychain was effective against spirits and wondered if this meant that the person knew something about it. And then suddenly the head of the class noticed it and told Su Zisho that it was a cute little pink box and he got nervous. And then teacher Zhao came into the classroom and said good morning to the students and told them that their physics teacher, Mr. Ho, had gone on vacation. Teacher Zhao said that therefore they should accept the new teacher into their ranks today and not offend him on the first day. Teacher Zhao asked teacher Xiao Ling not to be shy and come into the classroom to meet all the students in the class. And then suddenly Ling Chao came into the class and said hello to all the students and wished them a wonderful day and harmony in life. Su Zisho and Su Xiaomei saw the new teacher and froze in surprise and were shocked because they never expected to see him. Ling Chao told the students that from now on he would be their physics teacher and they could call him Mr. Lin or Mr. Shao according to their choice. Su Zisho looked at Mr. Shao Ling and thought what he needed in this school, and he knew that he had come to finish the job. Teacher Lin told the students that they would see each other in physics and said goodbye to Teacher Zhao and immediately left the room. Teacher Zhao said that now they will start the lesson and said that today they will talk about the love story between Du Fu and Li Bai. And then suddenly Su Jisho and Su Xiaomei simultaneously told Teacher Zhao that they had to go to the toilet now. Ling Chao sat in the corridor and asked his accomplice what she felt when she came so close to this fox spirit. The accomplice told Ling Chao that she was now convinced that she definitely knew her before but could not remember when exactly. Ling Chao said that he hoped that they could find her lost soul through the fox spirit and asked her not to worry. The accomplice was delighted and thanked Ling Chao for his care and for always taking care of her in difficult times. Ling Chao told her that the disciples were approaching and he said that they were not sure about the current situation and it was better for her to hide. And then suddenly Su Zisho and Su Xiaomei appeared in front of Ling Chao and said that they had finally managed to find Teacher Zhao. Su Zisho asked Xiao Ling what the purpose of his coming to school was and what he needed from them, and he expected the truth from him. But Ling Chao asked them not to worry and said that he would not create problems for them, and he told them the truth and they could believe him. Su Xiaomei got angry at Ling Chao and told him to stop talking nonsense and said that he was definitely up to something. Su Zisho told Ling Chao that he said that he was not there to cause trouble, but why should they trust him? Ling Chao said that he would now tell him about this and he hoped that everything would become clear to him after his interesting stories. Su Xiaomei was wary and pushed Su Zisho aside, and she thought that anything could be expected from Ling Chao. Ling Chao told Su Zisho that he was a spirit hunter and had to get it right and showed some kind of sign on his hand. Su Zisho was surprised and asked Ling Chao what he meant and what kind of mark he showed him on his hand. Su Xiaomei realized this and asked Ling Chao if it was really a seal of spirit strength and if it was true, and she couldn't believe it. Ling Chao said that of course it was so, and to prove their sincerity they could test it now with an example. And then suddenly the waves from Ling Chao's hand reached Su Xiaomei and she watched this and thought that it was very interesting. Su Xiaomei whispered in Su Zisho's ear that this was a real seal of fortitude, and Ling Chao did not lie to them and told the truth. Su Zisho told Ling Chao that it didn't matter if their power was sealed or not, but if they caused trouble at school. Su Zisho said that if this happens, they can consider themselves already dead, and Ling Chao asked him to just relax. Su Zisho told Ling Chao that they would see each other again and he was glad not to see him, and Ling Chao said that he hurt his feelings with words. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei if this seal on Xiao Ling's hand really sealed his powers because he didn't believe him. Su Xiaomei said that it was so, and Ling Chao's body did not change, and Su Zisho realized that he was telling him the complete truth and was not lying. Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that she should be very careful and said that he felt awkward around Ling Chao. After school, all the students went outside and were glad that the school day had come to an end and now they could take a break from their work. Su Xiaomei asked Su Zisho if he was still worried about what happened recently, and he agreed with her. Su Zisho thought that although Xiao Ling didn't look like he was doing anything strange, he didn't think that he wanted to become a teacher. But suddenly Su Xiaomei asked Su Zisho if he just wanted her to do something at school. He didn't understand her words. Suddenly Su Xiaomei ran and said that now that school was over she could get rid of him once and for all. But after a couple of minutes, Su Xiaomei returned and Su Zisho thought, was it really so fast, and she said that Ling Chao had already escaped. Su Jisho asked her not to worry and said that if she noticed something strange, she could do whatever she wanted anywhere. Su Xiaomei was very happy and asked Su Zisho if it was true and they should not let him do evil. Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that if she agreed with him then they would now go and collect his salary before it was too late. Su Xiaomei said that if they captured the villains, she wanted to eat fried chicken, and Su Zisho agreed with her. A couple of minutes later they had already arrived along the route, and while talking they did not notice how time had flown by and Su Zisho could take the money. But then suddenly Su Zisho looked at the noodle shop and froze in surprise, and Su Xiaomei asked him what he saw there. Su Zisho heard some sounds in this building and wondered if the boss was moving to his store and that's why he was making so much noise. And then suddenly Su Zisho realized that someone was destroying the store there and that's why it was so noisy there, and he wondered who it could be. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei to go with him and see what was going on there and help innocent people if they could. The workers said that they really did not know anything about it, but the man did not want to listen to any such excuses. The man told the store owner that the one who crashed into the young leader and ran away was their courier and they knew it. The man asked the owner if he was silent and said, "Then they will continue to destroy this place until he speaks." The store owners were on their knees begging young Master Tao to stop because they had nothing else besides the store. The owner told young Master Tao that he seemed to have made a mistake and asked how the motorcycle could overturn the car because it was impossible. Tao asked the owner if he really wanted to say that he was blind or if he thought that he was bored and was looking for trouble out of boredom. The owner told Tao that he was obviously looking for trouble, but suddenly he became silent and said that he wanted to say another word. Tao became very angry at this and ordered his men to continue destroying this place as much as they could. But suddenly Su Zisho told Tao to stand and he turned around and thought who the idiot was who was interfering in his affairs. And suddenly noticing Su Zisho behind him, the young leader Tao recognized his clothes and realized that it was he who caused that very accident. Su Zisho approached the owner and told the boss that it was time for them to get up because he didn't want them to bow to this freak. Tao asked the owner why he said that he did not know Su Zisho because he clearly saw this particular courier on the security camera. Su Zisho told Tao that he could understand that he was looking for him and asked if it was not too much and why he destroyed the store. Tao told Su Zisho that he was the driver who hit him and wasn't he ashamed to say that he overdid it? Tao told Su Zisho that if he thought he was overdoing it then he could pay him to repair his car so he would stop. Su Zisho smiled and told Tao that it seemed he was wrong and how an ordinary motorcycle could overturn a car was fantastic. Tao spat in Su Zisho's face and said that he was never mistaken because the footage from the surveillance camera was in high definition. Su Zisho said that he believed that nothing could be done there and said that Su Xiaomei was to blame for all this. Tao did not understand how Su Xiaomei had anything to do with that accident and thought that such a sweet girl could not harm anyone. And then suddenly Tao threw a wad of money on the table and asked Su Zisho whether he was a man or not and could he answer for his actions. Tao told Su Zisho that the man had to take the blame for what he did and this money was compensation for the defeat. The woman said that it seems they were mistaken and the owner said that he was going to protect this child and sighed sadly. Su Zisho told Tao that he understood him and would pay him and thought that in any case Su Xiaomei did it to save him. Tao told Su Zisho that he did not want to take advantage of him and said that first he owed 600,000. Tao began to count the costs of car repairs and also the fact that because of him he ran a red light and received a fine for it. And then suddenly Tao showed Su Zisho a calculator where the figure was 150,000 and he said that it was percent fair. Su Zisho felt bad when he saw such a sum and Su Xiaomei asked the darling if he felt bad from these figures. Tao told Su Zisho that he was really poor and how could he even collide with his car and not look at the road. Tao told Su Zisho that he would now answer the phone call and he could sign a promissory note to repay him in the meantime. Tao was talking on the phone with his sister and said that he was in Ba Dao and it was a health bean and noodle store in the area. Tao shouted at Su Zisho and asked him what he was waiting for and told him to quickly sign the papers in order to quickly get out of there. Tao was asking Su Zisho how long he was going to sit idle and then suddenly the door behind him opened and a lady appeared. Suddenly the girl reached out to Tao by the ear and asked what kind of dark things a rich man like him was doing and was suffering from boredom. She asked Tao if he had really learned to destroy places and Tao asked his sister to take it easy and save his reputation now. Su Zisho stood in shock because he recognized Sister Tao and asked if it was the head of the class and he didn't expect to see her. The head of the class was also surprised to see Su Zisho and asked if it was Mr. Scumbag from her class and what he was doing there. Tao began to shake Su Zisho and asked what he did with his power with his sister and he said that now he will explain everything to him. The head of the class asked Tao, so that time when he had an accident he was with this bastard and he was 100% sure. The sister told her brother that she had already told him that nothing happened and asked him to stop asking what they did to her. The head of the class told his brother that then she would take the IOU and Tao said that there was no problem and Su Zisho was upset. Then night came and they went outside and Su Xiaomei asked her dear why he was so depressed and melted. Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that he had a debt of $150,000 and how could he remain happy. Su Xiaomei asked for forgiveness from her boyfriend and Su Zisho said that she should not apologize because she wanted to save him. Su Jisho said that they could only blame the fact that there was no spell that could protect both the car and people. Su Xiaomei said that there was such a spell, but it all happened too suddenly and so she accidentally used one of them. Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that she didn't need to be so frank with him and she told him that he was bleeding again. At this time, the accomplice asked Xiao Ling if he was sure that he wanted to do this and he asked her not to refute anything. She told Ling Chao that it was good that he didn't want to come back when they had no idea what was going on there. But now that they had some kind of clue to find her lost soul, they had to give her everything they had. Ling Chao told the accomplice that he was thinking about her and so he found her a pure yun body to help her reduce her intake. Ling Chao opened the blanket that covered the girl and said that it was her and now she could be calm about the future. Ling Chao asked the accomplice if she was ready and he asked Xiao Ling to wait and said she had a private conversation with him. The Confederate looked at Ling Chao and said that she was still a little worried and wasn't sure if she should do this. Ling Chao asked her not to worry and said that he would always be by her side and if anything happened he would immediately help her. The accomplice said thank you to Lin Chao for his care and she could always rely on him because he always helped her out. And then suddenly she hung in the air and Ling Chao said that it was for her good and he wanted her to relax and not think about it. And then suddenly she began to move into the body of this girl and Ling Chao looked at her and was pleased that everything began to work out. And then suddenly the girl stood up and told Ling Chao that it was cold there and she was already frozen and wanted to get out of there quickly. Ling Chao hugged her and asked her not to worry and said that soon it would not be so cold and they would go home and she would rest. But then suddenly a guard appeared there and asked Ling Chao why he was there and what he needed in this room in the dark. The guard called Ling Chao a pervert and asked why he hugged this dead man and it was disgusting and bad. The guard asked Ling Chao to hurry up and get out of there before he got into trouble and wanted to grab Ling Chao. But suddenly Ling Chao turned around sharply and grabbed the guard by the throat and began to squeeze with all his might and he asked to let him go now. But suddenly Ling Chao lifted the guard up and it was easy for him because he was very strong and the guard did nothing. The girl stood up and asked Xiao Ling not to do this and to let this guard go as he was not guilty of anything and was doing his job. Ling Chao threw the guard aside with all his might and said that this would be a lesson to him that he shouldn't talk to people so rudely. Afterwards, Ling Chao asked his accomplice to get up and leave from there since they had no more reasons to stay there. The next morning, all the students were sitting in the classroom and the teacher told all the students that the lesson would start soon and they should be ready. Su Zisho was sitting in class and thought about the head of the class and thought that the creditor was sitting behind him and he could not forget about the debt. Su Zisho thought that he had hit the jackpot and behind him sat a creditor and to his right sat a spirit and it was interesting. Su Xiaomei smiled and asked Su Zisho not to be angry and said that she was just in a hurry back then and didn't think about anything. Su Zisho sat without a mood and thought that now he really wanted to disappear forever so that no one would disturb him. The teacher came into the class and told the students that he was their teacher and his name was Zhao Taizhu and today he had two news for them. Teacher Zhao said that first of all he wanted to tell them that there was another student in their class today and it was great. The students thought that this was another beauty and wondered if school transfers had recently become a trend. Su Zisho looked at the new student and wondered if they had a new addition again and it seemed very strange to him. The new student greeted the students and said that her name was Song Xian and they could call her Xian and she was very happy. Su Zisho exhaled and was pleased that fortunately it was not a spirit and he did not have to worry that she would pose the same danger. The student said that he seemed to be lucky and his friend said that he was embarrassing himself and asked to look at Jisho. The student said that Su Zisho already had a beautiful bride and he did not have the strength to pay attention to other girls besides her. And then suddenly the teacher threw a folder at the student's head and told Mr. Shang Dian that if he said one more word, he would regret it. Teacher Zhao asked the students to listen and said that secondly, their school will hold city athletics competitions. And so each class had to choose two people to help organize the event and he relied on his students. And then suddenly the head of the class stood up and told teacher Zhao that Su Zisho told her that he was ready to help them organize the event. Su Zisho asked the head of the class if she was too angry today and said that he didn't do anything bad to her. But the head of the class told Su Zisho that if he did this, his debt would be reduced by 500 and she would supervise it herself. Su Zisho did not agree with the head of the class and asked to reduce the debt by at least 1,000, but she reduced the amount to 400. Su Zisho asked the head of the class to stop and said that he agreed and would do everything to help organize everything. Su Zisho clearly said that only idiots could do such things, but it didn't matter because he wanted to repay the debt. Su Zisho stood up and told teacher Zhao that the head of the class was right and he would help them and give his life and his strength for this. Teacher Zhao was delighted and said that this was great and he should praise Su Zisho for his willingness to help them at any time. But teacher Zhao said that each class needs 2 people and asked who wanted to become the second, and Su Xiaomei wanted to become the second. Teacher Zhao said that then everything was decided and told the students that they would now have to go to the stadium every day after school. And then suddenly teacher Zhao told the students that if they missed any class, they would have to give up their vacation pay. Su Zisho sighed and wondered if teacher Zhao was joking, and he didn't understand anything anymore and didn't know why he agreed to this. Su Zisho was very upset and thought that before meeting Su Xiaomei was good and he did not have such global problems. And then suddenly all the students stood next to Su Zisho and told him that today he was very energetic and wanted to show off. The students asked Su Zisho why he was not like this every day, and he was surprised and asked them what was happening to them now. The head of the class told all those who lost the bet to be honest, and she was very glad that Su Zisho agreed to her condition. And then suddenly the head of the class put a piece of paper in front of Su Zisho asking whether he would help in the event. Su Zisho was surprised and asked the head of the class how they knew about it in advance, and she said that she heard about it from the teacher. Su Xiaomei asked Su Zisho if it wasn't normal for them to help their creditor earn money. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei if she really didn't want to do anything about it and was she really happy with all this and wasn't angry. Su Xiaomei said that on the contrary, she was very happy because besides, she will work together with Su Zisho and they will always be together. Su Zisho sat and thought that now there was nothing left to live for and nothing in the classroom made him happy anymore. The next day, the head of the class said that they had finally arrived at this place, and Su Zisho wondered if this was the right place. Su Zisho said that everything looked great there, but it was far from the school, and told the head of the city there were good stadiums. The head of the class, Yao, said that this place was also great and that they would be given a ride there when the event started and there would be no problems. Su Zisho thought that he had just found out that she was the one behind all this when they gathered and the evil spirit was still holding back. And then Sun Xing approached the head of class Yao that she was sorry, and she asked Sun Ming not to worry about it and not to worry. Class head Yao told Su Zisho that there were 5 other students who took the day off and their work would be left to them. Sun Xing approached Su Zisho and said that she could do it herself, but he asked her to forget about it and said that he would help her. Sun Xing thanked Su Zisho for his help and apologized for simply disturbing him now. But then suddenly class head Yao came up to her and asked her to be careful and said that Su Zisho was the scum of their class. Su Zisho got angry and asked Yao Zhizhi why she kept creating problems for him and preventing him from conducting his business. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei to let him go and said that he would finish her now, and Yao Zhizhi said that he was completely crazy. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei why he had not noticed before how class head Yao Zhizhi annoyed him so much, and she took him out. Su Zisho wanted to go up to class head Yao and tell her everything he thought about her, but suddenly Su Xiaomei called him over. Su Zisho turned around and told the sweetheart that for some reason she felt that there was a ghost in this stadium but didn't know why. Su Zisho was very scared and surprised by this and asked Su Xiaomei what ghost she was talking about and were they really there. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that there was no doubt about this feeling and there really was a ghost there, and that is 100%. Su Zisho asked if they were ghosts like in horror films and asked Su Xiaomei how about leaving there. Su Xiaomei asked her dear husband what horror films he was talking about and was he really afraid of those ghosts in that stadium. Su Xiaomei smiled and told Su Zisho that he was weak and she completely forgot about it and that's why she always protected him. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei handed Su Zisho a gun and said that if he takes it, he won't have to be afraid anymore. Su Zisho was surprised and asked her if it was not a real gunshot, and when she received it and she said that after a fight. Su Zisho looked at the gun and said that it looked like it had 6 bullets and asked her if he could use it. Su Xiaomei smiled and told Su Zisho that of course he could use a gun because it was a human weapon. And then suddenly the head of the class, Yao Zhizhi, whistled and asked all the students to gather around her and she wanted to tell them something. The head of the class, Yao, told the students that they did everything as planned before and they did not need to rush anyone yet. And then suddenly the head of the class, Yao Zhizhi, told the students that they should start training by clearing the stadium, and this was an order. Su Jisho was surprised, and the head of the class said that 10 people were needed to clean the rooms and 10 outside. Su Zisho told the head of the class that they had already lost 5 people and there were few of them, and then Xian Song quickly ran into the room. Xian Song was carrying boxes and asked Su Zisho if he wanted to tell her anything and said that she had already started doing the work. Xian Song said that first they should clear this place and then they should install it, but suddenly Su Zisho interrupted her. Su Zisho told Xian Song that she did not need to explain all this and asked her to immediately start working without further ado. Su Zisho mopped the floors for several hours and told Su Xiaomei that it was very tiring and he was very tired that day. Su Jisho said that it was already late and they had already done a lot of work and he wanted to finish the work quickly and relax at home. Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that there were still half of the places left to clean and they still had a lot of work to do. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei if she had any spells to clear this place in an instant without any problems. Su Xiaomei said that only servants studied such types, and she told Su Zisho that they cleaned up the houses. Su Xiaomei said that she could catch one and bring it home because the last servant was not bad, but they let her go. Su Zisho asked if she really wanted to catch the maid, and Su Xiaomei said that it was in his dreams and they needed butlers. Su Xiaomei pointed her finger and said that she saw someone upstairs and he looked good and could help them clean up to cope. And then suddenly the man turned and asked Su Zisho if they were talking about him and said that he was ready to help them. Su Zisho said that they did not need help from him and thought that he felt strange next to him and did not want help. Suddenly Su Xiaomei said that for some reason she didn't see Kohai, and Su Zisho was surprised who she meant because he didn't know her. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei if she really meant Chen Xiaozhu and said that she was just there and disappeared somewhere. Su Jisho said that she might have left or just went to the toilet and they hoped that she would come back to them soon. And then suddenly the head of the class Yao appeared there and said that it was already late and it was necessary to leave there with the class. Su Zisho agreed with the head of the class and told her that they had worked hard today and he had to pack his things. Suddenly, class head Yao told Su Zisho that he was very fast and asked him where Xiaozhu went. Su Zisho told class head Yao that he thought she was in the toilet and he told Su Xiaomei to warn her. The head of the class, Yao, approached the guys and said that they could return to the car and they would go there and wait for Xiaozhu. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei ran up to Su Zisho and was shocked and said that she checked the entire toilet and Xiaozhu was not there. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that there was a ghost there and he was very scared by this and wondered if she was lying to him. Su Zisho told Su Xiaomei that if there were ghosts there, maybe Xiaozhu had some problems and they could harm her. Su Xiaomei said that this shouldn't happen because she didn't feel anything, but they should have been prepared for the worst. Su Zisho told class head Yao that she should have stayed there and not left and he should have looked around there. Class head Yao was surprised and asked Su Zisho if he was going to the store, but he said that he was just looking for Xiaozhu. Class head Yao approached Su Zisho and said that if they really wanted to look for Xiaozhu, then she would go with them and help. The students looked for Chen Xiaozhu everywhere in this building, but it was quiet and she didn't make a sound, and this made them very wary. Su Zisho and his students wandered through the corridors and he wondered where Xiaozhu could have gone and had she really left. Suddenly Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that there was some kind of ghostly activity there and she clearly felt it all. Su Xiaomei pointed her finger at the dark corridor and said that there was a lot of activity there and it seemed like there were ghosts there. Su Jisho listened to her and said that then they would all go there together and look to make sure that there was no one there now. Class head Yao told Su Zisho that it was funny and asked if he was so afraid why didn't he sit in the car. Su Zisho said that he was not afraid of anything and they all began to look for Xiaozhu wandering along the dark and scary corridor. And then suddenly Su Zisho stood in front of the door after so much time walking along the corridor and said that this is the last room. Su Zisho said that if Xiaozhu was there, then her disappearance would have nothing to do with ghosts and he hoped for it. And then suddenly when Su Zisho opened the door, he saw that Xiaozhu was standing in this room and praying to someone and it was strange. Su Zisho froze in surprise and was shocked to see Xiaozhu there and asked her what she was doing there because they were all looking for her. Xiao Zhu turned around and was surprised to see Su Zisho there and fell to the floor, and he rushed to her aid to quickly raise her. Su Zisho asked Xiao Zhu if she was okay, and she said that she was fine and asked why he came there. Su Zisho was shocked and froze because he saw what Xiao Zhu was praying for and wondered if it was really a tribute to someone. Su Zisho saw that there was a photograph of some girl there, and he asked Xiao Zhu what she was doing there, and he was interested. Xiao Zhu told Su Zisho that she was burning incense for her sister, and he was surprised and asked why she was doing it there. Xiao Zhu felt sad and told Su Zisho that she did it there because her sister died at this place and she remembered her. Su Zisho was very surprised because he did not know that someone died there, and during all this time none of the students told him this. Su Xiaomei said that it was like that, and she just realized after he mentioned it that the ghost looked like Xiao Zhu. Su Zisho was curious and asked Su Xiaomei if Xiao Zhu looked like a ghost and where she noticed him. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that he was right and said that the ghost was standing right behind him and she could see him clearly now. Su Zisho was very frightened by this and immediately ran to Su Xiaomei and hugged her leg and said that he wanted the ghost to leave there. Xiao Zhu smiled and said that Su Zisho was exaggerating everything and there was no need for him to be afraid because Su Xiaomei simply deceived him. Class head Yao said that now that they found her they could leave from there and she would wait for Xiao Zhu and they would leave together. Su Zisho smiled and told the students that he was actually not afraid of anyone and it was a joke to make them laugh. Su Zisho said that he and Su Xiaomei would wait for them outside and they could slowly go back and not worry about them. Su Zisho wanted to open the door and asked Su Xiaomei why he didn't see the ghost because he was interested in seeing it. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that he was too weak, but he said that he could see spirits since birth and it was a gift. Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei if this ghost was okay and if she really saw the late sister Xiao Zhu. Su Xiaomei said that it seemed strange to her, but this ghost was indeed Chen Xiao Zhu's sister and she was sure of it. And then suddenly Su Zisho heard screams behind him and realized that something had happened in the room, and he realized that it was not good. Su Zisho asked class head Yao and Xiao Zhu if they were okay and what happened to them and why they screamed like that. And then suddenly Su Zisho noticed that a ghost had appeared in the room and he was very scared and asked if it was sister Xiao Zhu. Su Zisho walked up to class head Yao and asked her what happened there and what they just did that a ghost appeared there. Class head Yao said that they didn't do anything and the ghost just appeared suddenly, and they were also interested in finding out. Xiao Zhu looked at the ghost and asked her if it really was her sister, and she heard her prayers and came. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that she felt her emotions and it seemed like it was her sister and she seemed to harbor hatred. Xiao Zhu asked the ghost if her sister really hated her and wanted to hear answers to questions from her loved one. Su Xiaomei told Su Zisho that the ghost's emotions were getting stronger and it could be dangerous for them at any time. And Su Zisho asked Su Xiaomei not to let the ghost harm anyone and asked if she could handle it. At this time, Ling Chao arrived there and wondered why the students had not left yet and their bus stood there and did not leave. Ling Chao told his accomplice that he would go and see what was going on there and asked her to stay in the car and not go out anywhere. Ling Chao approached the driver and asked Mr. Kong why they had not left there yet and had something really happened. The driver Mr. Kong said good evening to Mr. Lin and said that there were still a few children left in this building and he was waiting for them. Mr. Lin said that then he will send them back now so that they don't make other students wait there for them. The driver thanked Lin Chao and said that he would treat him to kebab next time, and he said that he would look forward to it. At this time, the head of the class Yao and Xiao Zhu were sitting on the floor and looked at the ghost frozen in surprise and could not move. Su Xiaomei stood in front of the ghost and thought that she was now using spiritual fire to defeat her with this technique. And then suddenly Su Xiaomei sent spiritual fire at the ghost and thought that this should be enough to defeat the ghost. Xiao Zhu shouted at Su Xiaomei and asked her not to do this so as not to hurt her sister because she had been waiting for her for so long. But then suddenly the ghost began to gather all the spiritual fire in her hand and Su Xiaomei was surprised and thought that it was impossible. Su Xiaomei froze in surprise and was shocked and wondered if it was stealing thunder and how the ghost did it. Su Xiaomei asked Su Zisho and the others to stand behind her and they ran up to her and she made a protective circle and covered everyone. Su Zisho was surprised and asked Su Xiaomei if the ghost was really that strong because she immediately struck back at them. Su Xiaomei said that it was all over and she didn't know how she did it but the ghost could somehow control it. Xiao Zhu immediately ran to her sister, and Su Xiaomei said that she had no strength left to support herself and would soon disappear from there. Xiao Zhu asked her sister if she was okay, and then suddenly she was shocked by the shock. Su Zishou thought that it was not so easy to get this heartwarming mood, and why didn't Xiao Zhu listen to him?